we're dealing with the winter solstice, and it's a whole combination of planets, but for the most part, we're going into Capricorn, right? Solstice means the sun stands still. That soul is sun and stice is stand. So Capricorn has been demanding really discipline and order and the responsibility from us uh, for the sacred information that has been given. The age of honors, awards, and achievements, that's upon us. You know, there's no time, just cycles. And that would be really the age of Capricorn after Aquarius. We're talking thousands of years, but you know what? 1,000 years is a day is 1,000 years. It's about cycles, you know, and we constantly return back here for our lessons. So you and I are nothing but ancestors return. And if you are here, it's other lessons you need to receive. All right. And when you receive them, I suppose then you will become one with the all, and we will not see you in the physical. That's what they say. I don't know. I kind of think that people come back for different reasons, for their own salvation, yes. And then they also come back to help their family because we're all ancestors return. But at any rate, we have to save ourselves first. It's about saving our own, the salvation of our own souls first. So, with that being said, we now know that Pluto is saying, well, guess what? I'm raising the consciousness. The human race has got to adopt, has to adopt a more spiritual value system. Must do this. And that's the energy that we're receiving now and will be or have been since 2008. You know, a lot of people's consciousness was raising, you know, Sagittarius was, because it was in Sagittarius before. So people were seeking out higher knowledge and more knowledge, etc. So it's, however, going to go into all this knowledge, information that's been scrolling around in what we call the age of Aquarius or the age of information. People are being downloaded with so much stuff that they have to figure out how to ferret through it. So then it's going to go into Aquarius in 2024. That's next year. So we if man knows, he must what? Be what he knows. So we have to know. You can only be what you know, really, right? All right. So a whole generation of children can be born, or two, really, 2024 to 2044, with this information, provided the mother has it in her first school room, which is the womb for everyone. Is the womb is the first school room. Period. Bar none. All right. So now, as Jose Pimente Bay has said, what did he say? He said we must take back what is ours, but it can't be done until we study enough to know what is ours and feel comfortable with making such assertions.
This is what I want to say about the solstice, because from then to now there's been so much
That makes sense.
understanding, overstanding, and growth and different perspectives. I'm sure a lot of us may know on this line already, but you know, the whole story of Jesus and Jesus the Christ is all symbolic of the sun. And I just wanted to add this. This is from the Light of Egypt, Volume 1, page 249. It speaks about Capricorn, the goat, just to give acknowledgement to the divine and national movements that's going on in the universe. It says this sign in this symbolic aspect typifies sin, the scapegoat of the Israelites, because remember, Capricorn is the goat. So when they talk about the scapegoats of the Israelites, remember, this is all metaphysical, metaphorical from the science of the astrology wheel. So it says this sign in its symbolic aspect typifies sin, the scapegoat of the Israelites, in the universal offering of a kid or young goat as an atoning sacrifice for sin are significant. Different qualities of the sheep and the goat from a symbolical standpoint are used by St. John in his mystical apocalypse. The Redeemer of mankind, or Son of God, is always born at midnight, directly Sol, S-O-L, the sun, enters this sign, which is the winter solstice, right? So it says the young child is born in the stable and laid in the manger of the goat. They talking about Jesus being born in the manger. It's all
Mm-hmm.
astro theology. That's really what it is. So when we really comprehend that the Son of God is the SUN, it removes the mystery, right? Like of what's really happening here, right? As far as universal law. I just wanted to start there.
Now, she was saying that we anciently used to celebrate the new year on December the 25th. And the supports or explanation for that we already know, because we know that the sun stands still and then it moves forward, and without the sun nobody has life, no vegetation, no nothing. So we're already very aware of that portion of it. But what we weren't aware of is that some of us used to actually celebrate the new year on that day, all right, instead of on spring, in spring, when it shows the manifestation of such action. Let me explain that. When we know that in nature and in science, universally, everything is done in threes. So in 3 days, 3 months, 3 hours. So in 3 days, the sun moves again. And then in 3 months or degrees, 10, 20, 30 degrees, it is building itself back up to, well, it actually moves again. So right then you could say, hey, that's the new year for the sun, and it may well be. So there's nothing wrong with celebrating the new year on that day if you should so choose to. However, it got kind of like a question. It's like, well, wait a minute, why are we saying it's in the spring if it's really on the 25th? So what's happening on the 25th is it's going towards, and it has a three-phase process like everything else, such as we got the 12-step ladders and we take 3 steps at a time. So the sun is doing its thing, and since we are all manifested on the ether earth plane, if we're here, then we see the manifestation. We deal with manifestations and including in the chapter Circle 7, chapter 1. It's the manifestations. So we see the manifestations of the results of the sun being able to move forward and be born again. So it's not incorrect. We know the process. We know what happens. And if you should choose to want to do it on the 25th and call that the new year, call it. Do it. That's what you want to do. Because really, when we think about it, unbeknownst to us all, we've been really celebrating it then anyway, without knowing that we were celebrating or that we were having that sense. Now, let me tell you what's going to happen after the 21st. For the next 3 days, there will be a stillness in the air. There will be a stillness in the air. You can feel it. Once you acknowledge it, you will acknowledge it every year of your life because it was there. It's like even my nephews, I talked to them on the phone today. They said, I was talking, they were talking to each other and they were saying to each other, something feels so strange. I'm like, that's what it is. The sun is standing still and it will, everything seems to be still and it will move again. So I wanted to make that clear.
Peace. If we look at December, Deca means 10. 10 is 1.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So absolutely. Absolutely.
Article that Ms. had written on the the winter solstice is on the site on the holy days, holidays.
According to the science that Noble Drali was speaking of, the us being in tune with these things and the solstice and the equinox, etc. These are things that actually lead to victory, whatever that means for you. That's what it says. The science that ruler stations of the sun and the solar stars are your guide and will lead to victory. Being in tune with the natural law and the natural order opposed to idolizing men, right, or persons or mythology stories. I do believe culturally that is a victory, just knowing the truth, knowing the truth about these things. So yeah, it takes it out of the mystery because all of them, all of these stories, whether it's Yahshua, Buddha, they all are similar and they're all based off of stations of the sun. So you got Buddha who was born March 21st, which we know, I mean, being from the north, that is our new year. Like, that is a fact. We're in the north, maybe somewhere else is different, but here in the north, the new year is naturally March 21st, right? That is the equinox, that is the equal day and night. Um, there's nothing new in the dead of winter, like whether it be January 1st, the solstice. Of course, there's more light, the sun is going or ascending north, right? It has reached its lowest point and is ascending. But while it's winter here in the north, it's summer in the southern hemisphere. So, and vice versa, when it's summer in the north, it's winter in the southern hemisphere. So, I mean, it all depends on what location, what geography you're talking about. But nonetheless, the universal process is what it is. Being in the northern hemisphere, this is a celebration of the winter season where everything is kind of like, I mean, there's no such thing as death, but it's dead season, right? It's in the dead zone as far as growth and abundance. But of course, there's life underground. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying for us, the new year is definitely, March 21st, the vernal equinox.
And I know Jay's on the line, and we're going to show you. She showed us last year where that, why they say that Jesus was pinned to the cross. It's all constellations and stars. It was an amazing class. So let's just pin up on that. Let me read this article. This also talks about the mistletoe. Now I know you just did a class on Sons of Allah that really went in, I hear, but this was since 2013 on the site. It's called "The Truth About Moorish Christmas and the Mistletoe." All right, published on 12th day of the ninth moon, 1433 Moorish calendar year, second day of December, Gregorian Sophic calendar year, 2013 via, and it's being published via the First Amendment, freedom of speech, etc. Peace and love to the reader and to all. This is a truth about Christmas and its cosmological connection to the planet Tierra. Tierra is the earth, for those who didn't know. And that's why they say extraterrestrial, all right? And the universe collectively, specifically bringing attention to the aspect of the Moor's connection to emblems utilized for the holidays. Moorish scientists, astrologers do understand that on the 21st day of December, Gregorian calendar year, the sun or soul, noblest image of the creator, reaches its lowest point, which is the nadir, in its travel through the southern arc constellations of the universe. Thus, in alignment with the southern end of Tierra's, Earth's pole, is in fact coherent to the law of nature. At this moment, the sun, soul, Michael's position in its travel through the cosmos universe is recognized by de jure scientists as the winter solstice or Saturnalia. At this time, the sun is entering the constellation Capricorn, which is the lowest emanation of the trinity of earthly constellations, Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. So pay attention to the trinity, the three, asserted with respect to the stations of the sun, which in fact lead to victory. See chapter 1, creation and fall of man. Holy Quran, Moorish Quran temple of science. How does this relate to Christmas? Commit to memory the constellations, Virgo, Capricorn, and the divinity of the Trinity, Trinity principle, and that solstice is Latin and etymologically means sun stand. Sol is sun, stice is stand. On the winter solstice, December 21st, Gregorian Sophic calendar, the sun stands for 3 days or degrees. Remember, days and degrees are the same thing. Before it starts to ascend to the north. on the 25th day of December. Each day after this natural transition of the sun, Mikael, we gain more daylight for 180 days or degrees. That's a polar reflection. All right. For 180 days or degrees, when the sun, now let me just say this, that 180 days or degrees, which is a polar reflection from Capricorn to Cancer, which is where the summer solstice is. All right. So this happens again in the summer when the sun is going its way back down. Although you think it's up, it's going back down to be declined. So this happens again. We gain more daylight for 180 days or degrees when the sun reaches the zenith point, known to scientists as the summer solstice. All right. So, as the story is told, Jesus, the Son, Sonsun of God, died and was born again on the third day. See 1 Corinthians 15:3-5. That's for those of us who read the Biblios Heliotext, known as or referred to as the Bible. All right. Because the writings in it are ancient writings. When Christianity was started, they took ancient writings, in fact, took 66 of the books that were already written and compiled it in. So see Corinthians 15:3-5. The synopsis of Christmas is that the Son of God was born again on the 25th day of December of a virgin, Virgo, mother. Mary means mother. This is, or Virgin Mary, right? This is due to the fact that every year on December 25th at 12 midnight, 1 minute after December 24th, this constellation Virgo, the Virgin, can be seen just above the horizon in the east. And the sun, Son of God, ascends through the constellation Capricorn towards the north. Whereas Joseph is the constellation Sagittarius, the archer, December 21st, which is the winter solstice. Thus, the reference Joseph or Yosef is Jesus, Yahshua, father, Yahshua ben Yosef. Ben means son, so Yahshua, son of Joseph, is translated then to Jesus, son of Joseph. That's Sagittarius. Yes. So three correlative references or correlative references for claim of Sagittarius being Joseph. Genesis 49:22, Joseph is a fruitful bow. A fruitful bow by a spring, its branches run over a wall. Genesis 49:23, the archers bitterly attacked him and shot at him and harassed him. Genesis 49:4, but his bow remained firm and his arms were agile. From the hands of the mighty one of Jacob, from there is the shepherd, the stone of Israel. This is not to downplay the possibilities of woman in self impregnation, as it is a fact that autofecundation exists in science biology. I do respectfully acknowledge the fact, that fact of science. Autofecundation as a noun means auto equals self and fecundare, to make fruitful. In biology, the act of self impregnation reference any unabridged dictionary. Emphasis on Genesis 49:2. Joseph, a fruitful bow, or bow, by a spring. I speculate this spring referenced can actually be the spring season. Winter in the northern hemisphere. The season is summer in the southern hemisphere. It's 180 degrees, y'all, which would make Joseph or the constellation Sagittarius close to the spring or spring season in the southern hemisphere, according to the stations of the sun. On the subject of the stations of the sun, I have another revelation to share. Definition of Sothic year. In chronology, the Egyptian year, so called from Sothis, the dog star. This was a year of 365 and a quarter days. The Egyptian vague year was 600 hours shorter. Reference Webster's Unabridged Dictionary, page 1581. Thus, the origin of the 365-day calendar is from a Sothic Egyptian Moorish calendar. I thought it worthy to affirm the perspective that the story of Jesus the Christ, or Christmas, is an as above, so below story. It was my primitive intention to reference the fact that the Moors Americans reverence the mistletoe, relevant to the subject, as the mistletoe is a symbol used for Christmas, really winter solstice. Moors are Americans, Aboriginals culture. For the record, these words, infra, are not my own. As follows: other resemblances between British Moors and the North American tribes have already been pointed out, as, for instance, the reverence paid to the mistletoe, the riding 3 times round a building as an act of solemnity. Reference Ancient and Modern Britons, Volume 1, page 142. On this subject of Christmas, I add on: the constellation Sagittarius also is connected to the colors red and green. Emphasis on the cedar tree, Aboriginal continental flag of North America, used as the common tree on Christmas. Everybody puts it on the tree, right? For explanation, see page 15, 16, and 18 of the book, Who Are Moors, Americans, Asiatics, rvbaypublications.com, that book which Ms. wrote. According to question 36 of the 101s, First Holy Temple of Science, Jesus means justice. Thus, if Jesus is justice, let's talk about it. That would mean all waiting for Jesus to return are waiting for self to return and must take responsibility to look within. Why? Let's talk about justice. One of the 5 primitive principles of Moors Americans: internal and external justice. The first, internal justice, being a conformity of our will, and the latter, external justice, being a conformity of our actions to the law, their union making perfect justice. Reference John Bovier's Concise Encyclopedia of Law, Francis Rawls' third revision, page 1795, definition of justice. The union of internal and external justice slash Jesus makes perfect justice slash Jesus. See question 36 of the 101s, MHFS, and John Bovier's Concise Encyclopedia of Law, Francis Rawl, third revision, page 1795, definition of justice. Exterior justice is the object of jurisprudence. Interior justice is the object of morality. Reference Druit Civil FRTITPREL .Y'all can do a screenshot of this if you want to get these references. John Bovier's Concise Encyclopedia of Law, Francis Rawls' third revision, page 1795, 1796, definition of justice. Therefore, the attributes of justice or Jesus is manifested within self, then it's without. Within and then without. And I think this is why, if you are looking for your Savior, you must look within. And conversely, if you're looking for your devil, you got to look within. There is no devil outside, it's all within. In other words, the Justice Department is in the workshop of the mind. Boom! Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Thank you, Brother Miz. That was hot. That was hot. Any comment on that before I roll the tape? That
Nah,
was
Yes,
hot.
I'm brief. I'm briefing them out of the way. First of all, that was awesome. For those who have a a doubt maybe about how long we've been trying to manifest and teach or guide or uplift fallen humanity, that's 10 years old. Like
Oh, yeah,
you know what I mean? I just wanted to say that.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, I'll move out the way until a little later.
yeah, nah, peace.
That's
I'm glad
awesome.
y'all appreciate it. Shout out to the chat, Sister Karima, everybody. I'm glad. I'm thankful y'all appreciate it. I was listening like, damn, I forgot I wrote that. Oh, that was pretty good. I don't want to toot my own horn, but I appreciate y'all for
Yeah, that's awesome.
seeing the relevance still to this day. You know, to
Truth
this
don't
day,
change.
it doesn't change or pass away. You know what I mean? And we were in a place then where it was like, man, all of this is all everything going on is about our ancient culture. Like we manifested this, and it's like, man, I don't even know what to say. I'm just gonna say thank you for now, y'all. Peace, y'all. Yeah,
Well,
but
it's on
yeah,
point because I started out with the love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And
yeah,
like we said, this has been on the site since 2013. You know,
that's
I
that's
mean it.
crazy. Yeah,
Word
2013.
I mean
Mink
it.
pointed that out. That's 10 years ago. That's
up.
yeah,
Wow,
yeah, still relevant.
on
So
point.
yeah,
Like we can say, oh yeah, it's really about the sun, and the sun was standing still for 3 days, and then when you come down to a more mundane level, they say, well, yeah, Jesus was pinned to the cross. You know what I mean? And look, I got to tell you, I saw this Eddie Griffin movie, Eddie Griffin, the comedian, just the other day, and I don't know if this is. I hope this is not taken wrong, but it's a really good one, and it's called "Tell 'Em I Said It," and it was done in 2011, I believe. It's called "Go Run, Tell 'Em I Said It," or something like "Tell 'Em I Said It." Not to be confused with the Martin one, but this is Eddie Griffin. And so he really comes right out giving thoughts about religion. He said, all right, so you telling me that Jesus walked on the water, parted the Red Sea, fed thousands of people with a loaf of bread, but he couldn't handle 3 nails. And I mean, it was just kind of funny because that they make fun of it, but he was trying to give another message. So when we say that he was pinned to the cross, people on a mundane level, people believe that he was actually pinned to the cross. And even if someone did try to pin him to the cross, the message is greater than that. As above, so below. And so with this visual that we're getting ready to see, Jay kind of explained how that works. So please take a listen. It's about 6 minutes of the clip. For those 3 days, you can look at what we're talking about as far as that is concerned, as similar to a retrograde, and then it moves forward. And in a lot of the astrology books that you read, they'll even say it sort of shoots up out of that the sun went into a grave. Now remember that because you're going to get some lessons here. The sun went into a grave, and then it seems to shoot up out of the grave, and that's why people say he is risen or the son is born. Jake Bay, you're on the air.
So this is part of the decoding of the Circle 7 class series, and it's just like a little preview, and it's just on point with the topic of today. And so I really want to start with Circle 7. It's chapter 19 of the Circle 7, and I'm just going to really go in on that chapter because that chapter actually talks about the celebration of the winter solstice and this thing, called Christmas or whatever that people call it. So as Ms. was saying that you could say Happy Winter Solstice. I say Happy Winter Solstice. I watch a lot of children's shows because I have children, and in those shows, those cartoons, a lot of those shows that show the cartoon characters saying, "Hey, our family don't celebrate Christmas. We celebrate the winter solstice." And then most of them go outside and look at the stars. So, if you want to still do something with Christmas or this time of the year, you can probably incorporate that and have your children going outside looking at the stars and teaching them about what's going on in the star. In the sky. This right here, this is the cross, or also known as the Southern Cross. Right there, where you said they put me in a tomb and then I wrestled with the conqueror man. That is when, in the winter solstice, during this winter solstice, the sun sits for 3 days. In that 3 days, he actually sits in that facility of the Southern Cross. This is the Southern Cross. So that's where it says where they talk about Jesus dying on the cross, and then for 3 days, and then after 3 days he rose again. That literally
Wow.
is the cross. That's the constellation right there. You see that? That's the
Yes.
cross.
Wow.
That's actually a constellation. That's the Southern Cross or the Crux. And then and during December the 22nd, 3rd, and 4th, the sun actually rests in that cross. There you go. That's what's happening. As above, so below. So for 3 days, the sun is in the cross, and they pierced his hand. So he's stuck right there. And that's what is talking. So he said, I brought immortality to light and painted on the walls of time a rainbow for the sons of man, and what I did all men shall do. Right there, of course it's symbolic, just like the Bible, any religious book or sacred writings, it's always have at least two or three meanings. Brought
Mhm.
immortality to light, that's where it's saying the sun conquered that 3 days. You know, the sun, the SUN and the sun, he's conquered that and he came. And now, of course, he brings light to the earth. And then also, light is also symbolic to knowledge.
Mhm.
And then, I don't know if people got that, but he said, I painted on the walls of time. That just makes you think about he brought immortality to light. So that's where it said the sun died. He stood still for 3 days and then, on the cross. That's the cross. It's called the
Mm.
Southern Cross or the Crux, Crux. Google it.
Mhm.
I mean, you can Wikipedia it. You'll see these are constellations in the sky. And this is literally what happens during the winter solstice.
All right.
This
I'm using a
gospel
little
of the
pen.
resurrection of the dead is not confined to Jew and Greek. It is the heritage of every man of every time and clime, and I am here a demonstrator of the power of man. At this point, this is where he's saying the gospel of the resurrection. As you see, this is something that goes on in the sky for everyone to see. So this isn't just confined for Jew to Greek. This isn't one religion. This is the world. This is a worldly thing. This is something every man can get a piece. And that's the thing where Miz was saying. This isn't a thing where it's that's their religion. This is all of ours. This is all of our stuff. And if you want to be celebrating something, this is something to celebrate. And also, you could do a couple of things with the children with this to do, for 3 days, maybe do some fasting or whatever, or conquer something yourself, and a lot of activities for the children and yourself on during those 3 days. And then on the 25th, that'll be your celebration, just like symbolically, as above, so below, in many, many, many different ways. This is not a myth. This is real deal. And as above, so below. Made the fleeting winds from, for I am flesh and bone and brawn, but I can cross the borderland at will. So
All
that's him,
right.
right? So that's him saying that he conquered everything he was supposed to conquer, and now he can cross over whenever he wants.
Wow. I just got to say, that is well said, because that is the trials and tribulations of the lower self being the physical body, period. And then that southern cross where it extends, where we extend so deeply into that lower self. He's saying, hey, I've done that. It is finished. I have conquered it, and I can cross over at will, which is the absolute expression or explanation of eternal life. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And for those who don't know, when you talked about Orion's belt, a lot of people might not be aware yet that that would be Aries, which is where, life comes into, and where he ascended again, and where every one of us listening ascends as it is explained or expressed on your astrology chart.
Oh yeah, me and Ross saying earlier. She was saying that him being in the southern, that symbolic calling the Southern Cross. That
Hmm.
was him for 3 days in his lower self, and then he
That's
rised
right.
out of it. He rised out of this lower self.
If you read on the site, we have on, I think it's Return of the Matriarch page. It has Love Divine, and that was one of the tests where the woman was testing him and playing the harp. He had to rise out of the lower self.
They said Jesus died on the cross.
Yep, there it is. Oh
He
my
stayed. He
goodness.
stayed there, right there in the sky. So, also in the story, they talk about the harvest time and also Virgo. He was born in the wheat. That is symbolic. That's all that. If you see, the picture, but if you look deep, to see the big old stars, that's the constellation. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And the wheat symbolic to the harvest time, in Virgo.
And the sickle to harvest the wheat.
There we
Yeah, this
go. This is where I think the very beginning of this whole story is that's the constellation. The very beginning of this whole story, and that is in this constellation. And that right there is the east. It was the vacant seat. The thing about it is you could find so many hidden decoded astrology in here. So if people find other things, I wanna know.
and it's breakdowns like this that we all need. We all need. So with that being said, thank you, Jayana. Peace and love to you forevermore.